Welcome to Maths for All. This is exam practice. Here we have a length, area and volume question. Part A. A square has an area of 110.25 centimeters squared. Calculate the length of the side of the square. Okay, so reading carefully. Firstly, the shape we have is a square. Okay, now what's special about a square is that its length and its width are equal. Okay, and we have its area, or the surface it covers, is 110.25. Okay, how do you get the area of a square? Length by width, same as a rectangle, but in our case the length and the width are the same size, which is x times x. Okay, so our area is equal to x multiplied by x, or the area is x squared. We can say x times x is x squared, and x squared, when you multiply the length by the width, would give you the area of 110.25 centimeters squared. Okay, so what number, when you multiply it by itself, gives you 110.25? Well, I don't know the answer straight off, so I'll use my calculator to give me the square root of that number. Okay, so using your calculator, the square root of 110.25 is 10.5. So x is 10.5, and the measurements in this question are in centimeters. Okay, so you could check it again, multiply 10.5 by 10.5, and yes, you get that area there. Okay, here's the marking scheme for that part of the question. There are 5 marks going for it. Okay, but there's a potential to earn 2 marks for partial credit. So if you made a mistake and you divide it by 2, for example, they give you 2 marks. Okay, so this is part B. Find the area of a sector that makes an angle of 34 degrees at the center of the circle of radius 14 centimeters. Correct to 1 decimal place. Okay, so let's read the question again one more time, but really carefully. So firstly, we're looking for area of a sector. Now a sector, you can see in the picture, is a portion of a circle, so like a pizza slice. We do have an angle, 34 degrees, and the radius is 14, so this 14 is a radius, or R. Now, anything that has anything to do with a circle or a part of a circle, you are going to need a formula. Okay, now thankfully you don't have to remember all those formulas. You're going to refer to your formula and tables book. So it would be on this page. So the area and volume pages are towards the start of the book, so you need to be familiar with that book, and you just flick through and you find the shape you want, which is a circle, and make sure you're looking at areas and not volumes, okay, because this question is about area. Now we are looking for the area of a sector, which is here, and here it's illustrated in this shaded region. Theta is the angle. L, if we need it, is what's known as the arc, it's the curved line, and R is the radius. Now the next thing we're looking for is A for area, which is here. Alright, L refers to the length, A refers to the area. Okay, and we're using this bottom version here where theta is in degrees. Remember, we had 34 degrees. Okay, so A equals pi r squared theta over 360. So why is this the formula? Well, your sector is a fraction of a full circle. So what fraction of a full circle? We will have 34 out of 360. So let's do that on the next slide. Okay, the first thing you should always do for your examiner is to write down the formula. So by choosing the correct formula, you are going to get some partial marks. So pi r squared, and it was theta over 360 degrees. Okay, the next thing you'll gain marks for is by putting in the correct numbers in the correct place. Now we're asked to give our answer correct to one decimal place, so we'll be using pi is 3.14, the decimal version. So 3.14 multiplied by r squared. In our case, r is 14, so you can write 14 squared or 14 by 14. Multiplied by theta is 34 degrees, and then we'll be dividing by 360. Okay, so there's a number of different ways you could have written that out, but this is how we're going to calculate it. Okay, so into the calculator, 3.14 times 14 times 14 times 34, and divide it by 360. Okay, and so I get 58.1. Let's look at the marking scheme. Okay, actually they have 58.2, so that may have come down to the definition of pi that we use. Maybe they used more precision, 3.142. Okay, but we're going to get our full marks. Okay, so this one was for 10 marks, but again there's opportunity to gain partial marks. Okay, high partial marks, so 8 marks if you calculate the area of the full circle instead of just the sector, or if you had one error in what was otherwise fully correct formula, and you get 4 marks for any correct step. So writing down your formula will get you 4 marks. Okay, so always have a go. Now part C of this question is asking you to use the trapezoidal rule to find the area enclosed by the curve and the x-axis as shown. So firstly, trapezoidal rule. Again, that's another formula job. It's in your formula tables. We'll find that in a second. And the area enclosed by the curve and the x-axis as shown. So we're looking for this area here. Okay. Alright, so let's first look at the formula that we need. Again, it's in your formula and tables books, okay, towards the start, and it's on the page called Area Approximations. Okay, now down here you'll see Trapezoidal Rule. Okay, Simpson's Rule used to be on the Leaving Cert, but we don't use that one anymore. Okay, now let's look at trapezoidal rule. It's an approximation, that's why you have this wavy equals instead of a straight one. H refers to the width actually of between the parallel lines. Okay, so basically your shape will be divided up into stripes if you wish, or strips. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 in this picture, okay, of equal width h. So the formula says h over 2, and then it wants the first height here, y1, okay, so the first height plus the last height. So yn is used because it's the last one. Some questions you have 5 measurements, some you have 7, some you have 9, and so on. Okay, so that's your last one. So the first plus the last plus 2 times the others. So the others are all the in-between measurements. Okay, up to the second to last one. So plus 2 times the others. Alright, so let's apply that to our picture. Okay, so now let's first start by writing down my formula. So it's h over 2 by the first measurement plus the last one plus 2 times the others up to the one before last, the second last. Okay, now let's look at our diagram, see can we find those measurements. Firstly, how will we divide up the shape? Well, we're going to use vertical lines to divide it into strips. Whoops, excuse my lines. Okay, you get the idea. Now, so you have strips of equal width. Okay, now what is the equal width? So we're not using centimeters in this case, we're just using units on a graph. So in this case, the width of each strip is 1 unit. So our h is 1. Now starting at the start here, the first height, y1 is 5. The second height here, y2 is 8, so we're using the graph to give measurements. y3 is 9, y4 is 8 again, y5 is 5, and the last one, it does go right down to the floor, okay, down here, and we do have to include it. y6, it is no height, or it is 0. Okay, so now we have to substitute that into our formula. So h is 1, so 1 over 2. Okay, and then let's put in the numbers. 5 plus the last one is 0. So y1 and y6 we're using there. And then 2 times the others. So the others was, the second was 8 plus 9 plus 8 plus 5. Now, okay, so we're getting lots of marks there for correct formula and correct substitution. Okay, now let's work out what's inside the brackets first before we go any further. So we can add the 5 and the 0, that's just 5, plus 2 times. Now remember your BIMDAS, you're going to do what's inside any brackets first. So 8 and 9 and 8 and 5 is 30 in total. Okay, so we'll have a half times 5 plus 60. So multiplication came after the bracket. We'll have a half time, we're sorting out this bracket first, so 65. Half of 65, so a half multiplied by 65, or 65 divided by 2. We get 32.5. Now it's not centimeters or anything. If you want to write something in, you can say units squared, whatever the units happen to be. Okay, let's look at the marking scheme. Alright, so again 10 marker, but opportunities for partial credits. Okay, 8 marks for fully correct substitution with some error in calculation. So if you wrote down your formula and put the numbers in the right place but then made mistakes, you're going to get 8 out of 10. Okay, 1 error in substitution with the correct answer, 8 out of 10, and any correct substitution into the formula, you get 4 marks minimum, or identifies the first or the last height, so your y1 or your y6, you get 4 marks. So moral of story, always have a go.